Good evening, everyone. This is Lauren Etheridge again. Today I'm going to be talking with you about microlearning and modern technologies. The outline for our talk is to define microlearning, discuss technologies for its implementation, look at microlearning in action, and discuss a few drawbacks and considerations with using these technologies in microlearning. And then we'll give you a few resources. So there is some debate about what is considered the length of microlearning. Some people say that it is anything less than 20 minutes. That seems to be the general consensus. But there are some people who also argue that microlearning has to be 5 minutes or less. For the sake of this presentation, we're going to go with 20 minutes or less. So, Dr. Sweller's cognitive load theory explains that people can obtain knowledge by learning on their own through problem solving, which is the slower, more laborious process, or by gaining information from someone else and then processing it into their own long term memory. However, our brains can only process and store so much information at one time. This is where microlearning comes in. Microlearning is short, targeted education experiences that increase comprehension and retention of knowledge by reducing the cognitive load of the student. This allows for increased engagement, flexibility, and continued learning, and opportunities to implement the learning and gain feedback immediately or shortly thereafter. So we're looking at cloud computing, mobile learning, and interactive video as they apply to implementing microlearning. And they have a lot of overlap. So cloud computing is when you're using a third-party server to basically gather all your information and present the educational experiences. Examples would be Google Cloud Platform, Microsoft Azure, and mobile learning, of course, can be on any type of technology that is mobile, smartphones, tablets, laptops. Both of these allow for accessibility and customizable experiences that can be synchronous or asynchronous. They allow for collaboration, flexibility. Cloud computing can be scalable. You can expand the classroom to lots of locations and many students at one time. Mobile devices allow for convenience and learning on the go. Interactive video or some of the types of technology that you'll use for these micro learnings. It can be gamified, it can be virtual or augmented reality, mixed reality. They also allow for collaborative experiences. They're more engaging. They often involve instant feedback and adaptivity to the learner's needs. Just a few examples of ones that we've already kind of looked at are Edpuzzle, Nearpod, and Kahoot. So I want to give you a quick example of some microlearning in action. So this is a screenshot of my Google Classroom for one of my third grade computer science classes. I see all of the homerooms in our district or in our school one time a week for 45 minutes. And that kind of gets cut down to 40 minutes between transitions to and from classes. Of course, I'm not teaching constantly for 40 minutes. That would be overwhelming to any student, much less a third grader. So today, our lesson was building on a unit we've been working on data collection and presentation and analysis. So students got to do 3 different micro-learning things. We started out by building on what we've already been working on, which is our weather reports. Students in small groups got to look up the weather for their assigned city somewhere across the U.S. and then chart the temperatures for that city, the high temperature and low temperature projections for today, as well as the temperature during our class. And they did that on paper on a graph that we have in class. So they had a real hands-on activity in a small group to start off that connected to what we've done prior to this. Then we had a group activity, which was continuing to graph some data that we actually collected from the first grade classes in our building about their favorite sports. We had previously created a tally mark chart, a digital picture graph, and today we were working whole group, but each student was working on their Chromebook and following along and creating a bar graph to represent that data. So the weather report activity took between 5 and 10 minutes, so that was really quick review and application of prior learning. And then for 10 to 15 minutes, we did this group activity where they were also hands-on creating a digital bar graph, and this was expanding what we had already learned into a new type of graph. And then for the last 10 to 15 minutes of class, we played a Kahoot game, which is our interactive game that provided instant feedback in a gamified manner. It's competitive, so there's a scoreboard. The students choose an avatar. And this was about analyzing data of picture graphs. So using what we have previously learned and expanding upon that. So 3 different micro-learning activities, all centralized around data collection, presentation, and analysis, but each one doing a specific objective on their own. So it was not this overwhelm of we're learning something new the whole class, or we've got this big concept that we're trying to grasp. It was little micro concepts. And so this was my version of micro learning for my class today. And that was also using Google Classroom as our cloud computing. The students were using their Chromebooks for their mobile devices, and then Kahoot was our interactive technology. So for thinking about micro-learning and these technologies, there are a few drawbacks and considerations that we need to make sure that we take into account when we're planning. The major one being internet connectivity. Obviously, internet is needed for all of these applications. If Google Classroom was having an update today, that could have hindered my lesson. If the Kahoot website had an issue, or if just our Wi-Fi at school went down, that would have completely changed the way that I would have handled this lesson today, and we would have had to move back to some more paper, pencil, doing things on the board. That would have been harder for everyone to participate in and not as engaging for all of the students. So when you're planning a technology-supported micro experience, make sure that you're considering your audience's needs and your objectives, as well as prior knowledge. Had we not already been working with weather and data and using Google Classroom, this lesson would not have worked. So you have to know your students and know what your objectives are and where you can use your technology to help fill those gaps to really create that engaging and meaningful micro learning. And here are my resources for today. I do have 2 extras down at the bottom. I went on YouTube and I've enjoyed watching the TED Talks that have been provided throughout the course. And so I wanted to just see what there was in the TED Talk world about microlearning. And I found 2 videos that I thought were to put a little bit of a different spin or a different view on some of the micro learning. So if you'd like to check those out, they're at the bottom there, but I will also post them on my website. So I hope y'all enjoyed, and I'll talk to y'all later.